Greetings to you and welcome to Minikun Tutorials. Hope you are doing well. If you are looking forward to, let's say, creating sections and numbering your Word document, you know, just like this. Let me show you an example. All right. So this is a very good example. Okay. If you are looking forward to doing something like this, whereby you have, for instance, a document with, let's say, you know, a front page, okay, that is not numbered. And then you have, for instance, from, I'm sorry, the document is in French, but remerciement simply means from, let's say, acknowledgement or whatever, up to list of figures, okay, it's actually in Roman numerals. And then from introduction starts page one. This is chapter two in that order, right down, right. And also you notice that page 4 has been flipped into what do we call it? From page 4, tray 4 has been flipped into let's say landscape mode, just to be able to accommodate a large table. All right. So to do this, basically, you need to what? To create sections, and you need to be able to manage your page numbers, and you need to be able to flip or change the orientation of a particular section. All right. And I'm going to show you how we can create a similar thing in just a few minutes. This could be very useful when you are writing your thesis, a scientific article, or something where you need to change page numbers, number pages differently. You don't want to number a particular page, or you want to flip a particular page, change the orientation. This could be very, very helpful. So without much ado, let me show you how. So I'm simply gonna close this. All right, so I'll just close this. I don't want to save it. And then I'll just open a fresh Word document and then we start. So let me just type Word, so I have my Word here, double click to open. All right, and then let's open. This is our fresh Word document. And what do we do? So first of all, for me, I'm gonna create a section for the first page. All right, so that the first page will be my front page, and I'm not going to number it. First of all, how do you see the sections of your document? To see the sections of your document, simply double click on the header or the footer of the document, and then you'll see the sections written. Right now we just have one page. To insert multiple pages, press Ctrl and Enter. Depending on the number of pages that you want, just press Ctrl and hold and insert. If you want 5 pages, press Ctrl and hold and press Enter 5 times, for instance. So let's do this exercise right away. Control, Enter. So right now I've inserted several pages, right? I've inserted several pages. Does that mean I've created sections? No. If I should double click on the header, it's just written, nothing has changed. By the way, I need to change the language of my French, sorry, my word to English because it's currently in French and that is not very good, right? Options, language, English. Okay, okay. Now, let me start Word again. Perfect. Now I have my Microsoft Word in English, which is perfect. Now we can continue our tutorial. So, like I was saying, I just want to make sure that I have what um my front page. So I'm sorry, I did not even save my work. So let's insert multiple pages again. Control Enter multiple times. So I've inserted a couple of pages, which is very good. Does that mean after inserting pages, you have created sections? Not at all. To create sections, to verify that, if I should double click here, you just see the header, header. There's nothing written like section. So how do we create sections? Once you create section, you see section this, section that. So to create sections is very simple. Assuming that we want our first page to be a section, I mean, we don't want to number our first page, okay? Assuming that I want to number this document right away, how is it going to be? I just have to click on insert here, come to what, um, let's say page numbers here, and just simply say number pages. So I always prefer bottom. So I'll just pick this one, for instance, bottom right, and then my pages are numbered. All right, so all my pages are numbered. I've inserted how many pages so far? It's up to 7 pages. But I want this particular page, page one, to be my front page. I don't want it to be numbered. So how do I remove the page number out of page one? Somebody would say, you know what? Just make sure that you select the header and footer, double click on the header or the footer, then you delete this page here. So if I delete it, you will notice that the rest of the page numbers will be deleted, which is not what we want. So if I delete this, notice what happens. Everything is gone. Let me come back. So to make sure that when I'm deleting page number one, nothing affects the rest of the pages, I need to create a section for page number one. How do I do that? To create a section for page number one, I simply put a cursor somewhere on page one, right? Then I click on page layout, come to breaks, come to in case another way to create a new page was to just click on page here, layout break page, but I showed you rather control and enter, which is the same thing. Now we're gonna look at how to insert or create section breaks. So since we want to create a new section, we just click on next page here. And as soon as I click on next page, it means that if I double click on the so double click on the footer, you'll notice that a new section has been created. If I were on, let's say, page 2, when I created a new section, it means from page 3 going would have been the new section. And then from page 2 up to page 1 would have been section 1. But since I was on page 1 when I created a section, it means that page 1 constitutes a section on its own. And the rest of the document is now what? Section 2, as you can see. If I want to isolate page 3 to be a section on its own, then I have to make sure that from page 2, I create a section break, and I will come to the end of page 3 and also create another. On page 3, I also create another section break, so that from page 4 going will now be what? Section 3, or is it 4, whatever, 5. And then just to make sure I isolate a particular page, we're going to look at that, don't worry, when we want to change the orientation of a particular page. But for now, let's just focus on our front page, that we want to make sure that our front page hasn't got page numbers. For this reason, we stood on page one and then we pressed on layout and then section break and we created a new section which is section one. However, if I still, let's try to still delete the page number and see after creating a section. If I delete the page number, notice that it still goes even after creating the section. So let's come back. What do we do to ensure that after creating the section, whatever that we do on the page on section one does not affect the rest of the pages or the rest of the footers of the other sections or pages? To do that, then we have to make sure that page one, which is section one, is not linked to the rest of the pages. So we simply come down to the next immediate footer of section one, which is the footer of page two, section two. Then we simply click on link to previous because now link to previous is selected. So we just click on that. It means that section two is now not linked to the footer of section two is not linked to the footer of section one, meaning that if I should delete this page number, the rest of the pages will not be deleted. Okay, so this is perfect for now. I could just design this front page the way I want it to be. Just click on it this way. Okay, double click on it. Sorry, just click on it. Once the cursor is blinking, you want to probably put a border or something. To put a border, just click on design, and then you have, let's say, border here, page borders. All right, and then you just simply come and click on, let's say, this one here. Whatever that you want to choose, you could pick this. You could increase the thickness of the line and make it a little bit. We could change the color to blue, for instance. And we want to make sure that it's applied to just page one. So click on this, then select this section, just say okay. Now we have our front page well designed. I can just say, for instance, article article 12. Okay. This is by Minunkun, and then I'll just put a year. So let's assume this is my front page, which is just perfect. For now, I can assume that I'm done with my front page or my cover page. Now we are going to page one. Now you see that because of we have separated this section which from section one, which is the front page, we now have the pagination problem. So we want to make sure that this page starts with, let's say, page one. How do we do that? Then we just click somewhere on the document. Okay, just click somewhere on it. Page two, we click on insert. We come to page numbers here, come to format page number. Then you select what starts from, you could increase to whatever page number that is. So we want to really start from one. We just say okay. Now we have our front page, which is not numbered. And then we have page one, which is what? Numbered. All right. So let's take it further. We could assume that page one is, let's say, acknowledgements. So let's write acknowledgements. So page one is acknowledgements. Make that bold. So we want to say, for instance, from acknowledgement up to, let's say, list of figures. Page two, for instance, is list of figures. Okay, or list of tables, whatever. So we want to say from acknowledgements up to list of figures. We don't want that to be page one. We want page one to start from introduction. So we could just come down here on, let's say, page three and call it introduction. Okay, which is perfect. However, we want introduction to start on page one, but list of, what do we call it? We want acknowledgements up to list of figures to actually be numbered in what? In Roman numerals. So we have I here, and then here will now start with one instead of three. So to do that, let's see how we can do that. Let's double click here, and you would notice that the rule hasn't changed. Section one is our front page, and the rest of the document is actually section two. But since we want to create this change in page numbers, we will be obliged to create a new section. And that new section will start from what? Page two. So that page three will now be what? Will be numbered page one and will be our introduction page. And the rest of these page one and two will now be numbered I and II. So how do we do that? We just make sure that we start, just put a cursor somewhere within page two where we want to create a section. Okay. And then we click on layout, section breaks here, next page, on the section break, sorry. And then we have created a new section. So let's double click and see. Now notice that um, section one is still the front page, and then section two is what? Page. It's for page pages two, sorry, pages one and two now constitute section two. And for section two, you want to change the numbering to what? Roman numerals. But remember, I told you that anytime you have to change the numbering of your documents, if you put the numbers in the header or the footer, then you have to make sure that they are not linked to the previous sections. So we have to simply come down to um, section three, come down to section three, and make sure that section three is not linked to section two. So we unlink here, just click on section three, which is introduction page. Okay, so click on section three, the footer of it, which is now called page one, simply because we inserted a section break. We will correct the page numbers later on, but just click here because this is the first immediate page after section two. So we just unlink it. After unlinking it, we now come to section two and come and change the numbering. So section two starts with what? Page one. We don't want page one to be acknowledgement. We want page one to be introduction. So here will be I and II. So how do we do that? Just double click on page one to remove the whatever, to remove, just to unselect the headers and footers. Once you do this, click on insertion, come to page numbers here, click on format page numbers, click on this drop down menu, select format to what? Roman numerals, click start here from I, which is because we are on the acknowledgements. If you do OK, now we have what? I here, which is perfect. Now this page is supposed to be our introduction page. Perfect. Okay. Second page will be what? I don't know what that will be. That is supposed to be whatever, you know. So that is just perfect. All right. So now everything is corrected. But we will take it further. Assuming that as I told you, one thing is that once a section is created, when you stand in that section and you insert a page, it doesn't mean you are creating a new section. You are simply creating a page break, and you have all those pages belong to that section. So if I should double click here, so this is section 3, page 2, and then up to page 1 consists of section 3. So assuming that we want to isolate page 2, okay, because we want to change the orientation of page 2 so that we can put a very large table on page 2. How do we do that? Remember that whatever that you do on a particular section affects all the pages of that particular section. So if you want to do something specific to a particular page, that particular page you must create a section for it. So we want to create a section for what? Page 2 only. How do we do that? So that we can change this orientation to landscape and then put our large table or picture or whatever. How do we do that? So it means that we will have to isolate page 2. How do we isolate it? Because right now, page 1 is part of section 3, page 2 is also part of section 3. So we need to first of all stand on page 1. We need to first of all stand on page 1. Okay, just click somewhere in page 1 and then insert a section break. Layout, breaks here, new section, which is perfect. Now if I should double click, you will realize that page 1 constitutes what? Section 3. Page, okay, we don't need to go back to these Roman numerals. So let's continue. So we have here, page 1 is now section 3. Page 2 is now what? Section 4. In that order. All right. And page 2 is now also still section 4. But what we really want is what? What we really want is that page 1 is introduction. Page 2, which is now page 1, which is it's just because we created a new section, but normally this is page 2 now. So we stand on this particular page again and isolate it. So let's just stand on it somewhere here. And then we isolate it again. This page 1, this is supposed to be page 2, but because we created a section, it's a new section, so it starts with page 1. So we'll isolate it again. We'll correct the numbering later on, okay? Or if you want, let's correct the numbers before we continue so that you'll not get confused. So this is section 3. From section 3 going, this section 3, perfect. Okay, this introduction here starts with page 1. This is normally page 2, right? So let me put my cursor here, insert page numbers, then we put format here, then we start with what? 2. This page 2, which is perfect. Page 3, page 4. Remember the plan was to isolate double click on the footer header. Plan was to isolate page 2. So how do we isolate page 2? Because you notice that page 2 now stands on what? Section 4. Meanwhile, page 3 is also standing on section 4, which means that we have to stand on page 2 again and then create another section so that it will be isolated. Okay, so let's stand on page 2 again. So we stand on page 2 here, then we click on layout, breaks, text page. Now a new section is created. Let me double click. This new section will be section 5. So page 2 is going to stand on section 4 all alone, which is what we want so that we can change its orientation. But now we have to correct the page numbers before we continue. So this new section is now it was supposed to start with page what? Page 3, but because it's a new section, it's starting with page 2. So we just click somewhere here and then correct the page number. Click on insert, click on page number here, format page numbers, increase it to page 3, say okay. So this is page 3 here, page 2, page 4, which is perfect. Now, page 2 that we have isolated, we want to actually change its orientation. Remember, that was the idea. So page 2 is now lying on section 4. As you can see, all alone, the rest of the pages are there. For instance, all these other pages are on section 5. But we have page 2 standing on section 4 all alone, which is what we want. So to change the orientation of page 2, we simply click on page 2 anywhere within it. We click on layout, then we come to orientation, then we can pick what? Landscape. Now page 2 is isolated and it's in landscape mode, and we can insert our big table or large picture or whatever, a figure that could not enter if we were in portrait mode. So over here, we can insert a big table here, you know. Let me just click somewhere here, insert a table, you know, and this table enters without any problem. You see? So my numbering, everything is taken care of. I can change the orientation. If I stand here within this large table and I enter again, like just do control enter, it's going to introduce another large page because this is a section on its own. Remember that. You see? But this is not affecting the rest of the pages. To delete this page, how do I delete this page? Assuming I don't want this page that I've inserted, how do I delete it? Simply use a paragraph marker, all right, and delete the page break. To delete it, just click somewhere here, select the page break, hit the delete key. And then the page is gone. Press on a paragraph marker to remove your paragraph markers. So this is how you can actually create sections and manage page numbers in your Microsoft Word. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this was helpful. Please remember to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.